Good afternoon, and welcome to this week's edition of Leafwire's Industry Trailblazers, where we speak with and learn from some of the industry's true pioneers. It's my great pleasure to welcome John Shute from PufCreativ today. Welcome, John.
Mike, thanks for having me, man. Appreciate it.
Yeah, it's really appreciate you having you on, and I know our audience is interested in what you have to say. So just a little brief intro first. John founded PufCreativ to shift perceptions around cannabis while delivering world-class marketing strategies across B2B, B2C, and client communications. Under his leadership, PufCreativ has earned top industry honors, including the EMJAY International Cannabis Marketing Branding and Marketing Agency of the Year Award in 2023, 2 CLIO Awards that same year, and ADCANN's Agency of the Year title twice. John himself has been named Marketer of the Year by ADCANN and CEO of the Year by CEO Monthly in both 2020 and 2022. Thanks for being here. So great to have you.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, I appreciate the intro.
Yeah, weird to hear that bio about yourself, huh? Yeah, that's great. Well, so thanks for joining us, and maybe let's hear how you got started. How did you get into the cannabis industry to begin with?
Yeah, the story really goes back to how I grew up. My parents were entrepreneurs, service industry, and so I grew up working in a restaurant since I was a little kid. My mom had childhood cancer and started her own nonprofit and all these different community organizations. And my entire life, my parents always leveraged their businesses to give back to their local communities and also just solve bigger, problems that they see in the world, one being cancer and cancer research. So that's really where my, I would say, entrepreneurial and community-driven spirit come from, and how I approach my day-to-day. But that ties into how I got in the industry because I've been a consumer since I was fairly young. I got my master's degree, as you mentioned, and immediately after I got that degree, I ended up having to help my dad with one of his businesses because he was getting robbed by one of his managers, stealing cash. And so the guy who was doing it handled the majority of the marketing and operations for the business. So I immediately took over the marketing. I helped align the marketing with the operation and took over a lot of the operations and dealing with staff. And that's really where I leaned into my project management masters, but also discovered the impact that creative and disruptive marketing could have on the business. And I made them one of their most profitable years since they started after 11 years, which is really hard to do as a nightclub. And they ended up the building got knocked down, they've rebuilt and rebranded and whatnot. But during my time there, I had lost some folks close to me to the opiate crisis. And so that was really, I would say, the straw that broke the camel's back that led me to getting into the cannabis industry. I immediately was like, hey, I'm really good at this marketing thing. I wonder if I could get involved in the cannabis industry because I know it can help people with addiction, and alternative wellness just can really impact people's lives in a really good way and be a different option for them to deal with stress or pain or anxiety or sleep deprivation and things like that. So that's how I got in the industry. That was the legal side of the industry, at least. That was just over 11 and a half years ago. My first job in the industry, I was the marketing director for a cannabis contract manufacturer out of California. And that's where I learned, pretty much everything that happens from seed to sale. And that didn't really work out for me. I kind of got screwed over. Pretty classic though for that time, to get screwed over by a cannabis company. But that essentially is what led to the formation of PufCreativ. I made that company and their subsidiary brands, a lot of revenue, really kind of got them noticed right away, from their launch. And so, I took that experience and my own value and then turned it into something of my own. And so, yeah, PufCreativ will be celebrating their 9-year anniversary here in March, which is pretty cool.
Wow, that's
Yep.
really exciting. I didn't realize you'd been around that long.
Yeah. I'm like basically, Stone Age, legal cannabis from marketing side.
Right. Well, so, and at this point, fast forward, PufCreativ is widely acknowledged to be one of the top advertising firms in the industry. Maybe can you just talk about the challenges that businesses run into around marketing? I know it probably depends too, like plant touching versus non-plant touching, and it seems like you work with a lot of dispensaries and a lot of plant touching. But maybe
Yeah.
you just kind of run down what are some of the challenges that cannabis businesses run into?
Well, I think the list goes on forever of general challenges, right? For anyone, no matter what the vertical in this industry. It's quite an interesting experience as a business owner in cannabis that I go through. And then, I deal with a lot of other business owners who are dispensaries, brands, ancillary companies, tech companies. And it seems like everyone has their own unique story, but it's always something. From a marketing perspective, I think something that, we end up having to talk about is just like what's actually moving the needle, right? And it's pretty, I would say it's a different, unique challenge for each type of vertical, depending on how you can track your data and a true ROI on the spend that you're making or the time that you're putting into a marketing platform. It's a little bit more straightforward for a cannabis retailer to track where they're at because there's an actual transaction that takes place on their website that's tied to a POS system and dollars. A little bit more difficult for a cannabis brand because they don't have a POS necessarily tied to their the action that takes place on their sites. That is starting to change though. The store locator technology through hoodie analytics, can menus and lit alerts,
Joint commerce.
Joint commerce as well. You can tie that revenue back to transaction on a brand site. And so, it's the future of monetizing for a cannabis brand is looking pretty good over the next couple of years here. Is that technology exactly where it needs to be and as advanced as it may be for a retailer? Not necessarily yet, but it's getting really close and we're really excited about it. And we're really starting to be able to monetize those platforms for brands. Hemp, D2C, easier to track. There's a transaction, there's revenue tied to it. The ancillary B2B companies, a little bit harder. That a key event that needs to take place is usually like a email or a sign up for the email list or someone's calling a number to reach out to someone for a service. So, I think trackability is like a big topic that always comes on. And right around COVID, fortunately for us, there's big technological boom in cannabis, native e-commerce, advancements in customer loyalty and CRM technology. And so, I think that's something that's a challenge for everyone is thinking about the technology that they're going to use for their marketing platforms and then how they're going to track their marketing spends. And so, we really help people try to navigate those situations, try to tell them from our experience, hey, we work with this company. We have a really great time utilizing your technology to customize the design and UX of a website. And, their e-commerce is trackable in Google Analytics from a revenue perspective. Or, hey, this company, they allow you to segment your audience really, really well in their CRM. So when we're communicating with each segmented audience, we can really get them to come back and hit a note with them to build that trust and loyalty. So yeah, technology, data analyzation, and then just like trackability are just, I think, challenges that anyone in the cannabis space really kind of faces. But there's solutions for each vertical, and it's been really cool being able to adapt to those solutions and just learn about them and apply them to different styles of business. Long-winded way of answering your question, but hopefully I brought us all back.
Yeah, no, I think it did, and of course, it's trying to wrap all those different topics into a short, concise answer is difficult. And I noticed, by the way, that you didn't mention SEO, and I wanted to just ask you about this because it just seems like SEO is something. There's a lot of players out there that are doing SEO. Where do you see? How would you describe that landscape, and how does that tie in with everything?
Yeah, SEO is a pretty hot topic, and one of our largest services that we offer, for sure. In terms of there being a lot of SEO agencies out there, in cannabis, it's very niche in terms of what's going to move the needle and what's not. And I would say the more experience you have and the more data that you've reviewed and the more strategy that you've implemented, the path of least resistance to a return on a spend, like for something like SEO, is going to work better for someone who's been around the block and worked with multiple dispensaries or brands or ancillary companies similar to the one that you're operating. And I think that's really the angle that we take, and why we see so much success with it is just because we've been doing it since the beginning. We know how to leverage the technology to enhance SEO. We know how to write content and roadmap a strategy for someone, whether they're in an emerging market and they want to build a gap between their competition as it gets more as price compression and it gets a more competitive landscape, or we're entering a really competitive market and have to really jump in and tackle those different obstacles or different gaps between the client's competitors that maybe have been around longer or have an SEO team working for them. So it's very nuanced. It's also a really big topic because it really is people are saying, oh, SEO is dead because of AI and LLMs and that type of search, right? Essentially, these LLMs and AI, they're using search to come up with the answers that they're providing for folks, or the solutions they're providing for folks. So when people say SEO is dead, I don't think they necessarily know what they're talking about, because a lot of it is all just search. Like if you're searching on social media, if you're searching on ChatGPT, you're searching on Bing, Google, it's all search. It's all visibility. And so what we find with it is that the stronger the brand, the stronger the website, the stronger the SEO, and the more you complement that foundation with strong media, mention people talking about you on social, great content that's really relevant to what users are searching for and solving their problems, going to the events, speaking on the panels, getting backlinks to your site. It all adds up into getting you into the recommendations that Google or an LLM like ChatGPT are going to put a list up of, hey, here's the top marketing agencies, right? We'll get to the top of that list. It's all of these things coming together. Whoever's the most relevant in time is going to be who's the number one recommendation there. And you'll see that with me and PufCreativ strategy. Like, we just rebranded, we just launched a new site. We run, we've never done outbound sales. It's all strictly been organic growth and referral and trust. I'm speaking on events all the time, on the podcast all the time. I write content pieces all the time that are based on the problems that I'm solving for cannabis retailers and brands in real time, or addressing the same questions that I get from these people all the time. And so, that's what it really takes to pop up. And for us, we have a few competitors that outrank. It's funny, they outrank us on Google search. We're maybe second or third for a lot of the core searches. Number one for a bunch too, but there's some core revenue searches that we're pretty pissed off we're not in one. Probably a little bit more limited resources. But that being said, you'll notice that we get recommended above them in a lot of AI recommendations. And so it's really cool to see this balancing act between a regular Google search and an LLM search, and who's recommending who and why, and pulling different levers to see what's working. But if you don't have an SEO foundation, none of it's going to come together for you. So the quote of SEO is dead is completely false. It's actually more important now than ever to have a smart strategy in place, because just existing or doing some black hat tactics in terms of getting backlinks from a bunch of sites that don't even really have a domain authority and are just spam, like that, just you can't do that anymore. All these little things really matter in terms of visibility.
One of the things I'm always struck by, and every time we talk or it's or see your content and stuff, is just the confluence of your tech stack and your creativity.
Yeah.
And just right there in your name, it's PufCreativ, but your tech stack is really sophisticated, and so maybe you could talk a little bit about that, and just the combining creativity with technology.
Yeah, I mean, I'm glad you brought that up. I mean, it's something that I've been really talking a lot about on a lot of podcasts and webinars and panels that I've been speaking on, because again, I see a lot of commentary out there about creativity not necessarily mattering when it comes to performance marketing, and I actually think it's quite the opposite. I see quite the opposite in the data that I'm analyzing, where when we come in and create a new brand and a new website that goes through a formal branding process, you see the uptick of velocity on shelves from someone physically seeing that product and point of purchase. And then you see the uptick in traffic and conversion rates on websites when you enhance the creative aspect of a brand or a site or ad content. And so that's actually our value proposition to the industry, is being able to have really strong creative to back the technical and performance side of folks' marketing. Because if you're investing into performance marketing, why wouldn't you want to maximize your investment by getting the most value and ROI out of the performance expense, right? And so we see that with customer acquisition. I truly believe and see that great creative performs well when acquiring customers. And then on the retention side, if you have great creative and great messaging and communication, you see that better trust and retention, and people want to come back for more. You could really, having a shitty logo, or sorry for my language, a not great logo and not great packaging, or a really crappy email design, and you're trying to get someone to come back into your store, or just get them to come in for the first time, it takes just a moment to turn someone off, visually, written, verbal, in person. So why risk that, Right. And so that's our approach. Strong creative equals maximization of your ROI on your performance investments. And so, that's kind of like our angle. And so we really help people establish or reestablish their foundation from a creative, technical, and performance perspective, and then analyze the data and what's moving the needle to either change the creative or enhance the spend because it's working. So it's really cool to watch all of that happen and be able to provide those tools for the industry, because a lot of the folks, I think, some people say the opposite of what I'm saying right now. Oh, it doesn't matter, just get the ad out there, get the SEO article out there. But I think it's a way bigger animal than that. And anyone who thinks the opposite, it's just look at the most successful companies. Let's look at Nike, let's look at Target, let's look at Walmart, let's look at
Starbucks.
Starbucks, let's look at Sephora, great creative, great marketing, great websites, very thought out. It's not rocket science. It's 101 branding and marketing, and a lot of people can be in denial about it.
Yeah, it does seem as though it's one of the many things that, our industry, we have a lot of entrepreneurs that have never been entrepreneurs before, or perhaps maybe just not on, out on the legal markets. And so they don't necessarily invest in logo design, for instance, or
there's that, and then there's a lot of people who I think who have gotten lucky and can get lucky being first to market, and that kind of situation falling on them. And then you see this trickle effect of like, someone's like, oh, well, that company's making a ton of money and they totally didn't invest into their branding and stuff, so I might as well not too. But think about it. It's way different times now. Cannabis is way more known by people in general, right?
Yeah.
And so say you did get lucky. You were the first to market in what's called a more conservative state, and there's only 3 or 4 licenses that were given out to start, and you crushing it. You're making millions of dollars. That's awesome, right? But 3 years later, the next wave of licenses get released. Right now, there's 100 licenses, and one of those licenses is 2-minute drive from your dispensary, and it's cookies. What do you do in that situation? Every one of your customers is totally going to go check out that cookie store.
Mm-hmm.
They have a lot of resources to get customers through the door, really great branding, really great retention strategy. Don't even need to do retention that well because people are just loyal to that brand.
Yeah.
So if you thought about your branding and you dominated search, and you had a really great retention program, and you had, a lot of strategic community engagement and activations, and you're solving problems of these other folks from around you, that's going to be less of a harmful impact on your business when cookies opens up down the street.
Right.
That applies to anyone, no matter if you're first to market or the last or whatever. It's these little things that make all the difference. And it goes to, again, someone brought this up. I don't know when it was, but I've been bringing it up all week. Someone on the call brought up to me, they were like, yeah, the dispensary I shop in, it's 3 dispensaries that share the same parking lot, right?
Wow.
And so, it's funny. It's the reality of a lot of situations. And you get a lot of, Colorado, Oklahoma, and there's like a lot of places
they group them all in the same
group
place.
them all together.
Yeah.
Who wins? Who wins that game? A lot of people will say it's the person who has the best price. And in some cases, they're not wrong. But when you train your customers to only shop at your store based on your cheap pricing, your margin's slim and you're going to fail as a business. It's these other things that really come into play, that trust, that you're solving the problem for that consumer. You're speaking to the products that they want to buy. You don't have to always discount them. You got to speak to them at the right time because you took the time to acquire them, and you took the time to segment them. You took the time to build that trust with them over time. You might not acquire someone right away, but hey, they saw that you did that fundraiser for the homeless in your town because it's a big problem, or you did that trash cleanup on the beach because there's a lot of pollution in your area. And then maybe they search for a product and your dispensary popped up first. Now you acquired them with already that good feeling inside, and they really resonate with your brand because, just like you, they had someone in their life battle a cancer and use cannabis to get off of it. So the compound effect and the trickle effect of, just starting your brand the right way and leaning into who you are and why you're here, from what I see, impacts the next 20 years of building customer trust.
It's funny that my next question was going to be, what do you see as the main challenges that confront entrepreneurs in our industry? But I feel like you just answered it, I don't know if you want to speak to that. I mean, this is really a big part of what Leafwire is about. is supporting entrepreneurs and helping people that are trying to make it in the industry. So yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I feel like you pretty much talked about the why and stuff, but anything to add in terms of, messaging to aspiring entrepreneurs?
Yeah, I mean, I think just for the cannabis industry, I think a big challenge is just not knowing what's going to happen and having to, dip, dive, duck, and dodge the changes in legislation. And I think that is always going to be a challenge here, until, there's descheduling or decriminalization or some type of federal moves that are made. And even then, there's still going to be gray area and, weird things going on between cannabis and hemp, and, psychedelics coming in, beverages being a big play. So, all these different nuances to the industry, I think, and gray area in terms of legality and legislation, I think, are what the biggest challenges that most of us face are. Just getting started in this industry is tough because there are so many large players and it's been around for quite a bit now. So there has been these folks building brands and building reputations and learning these lessons that are going to really move the needle. So the entry now is, I think, hard unless you fall into a really great situation where you can be first to market and have a great opportunity to do it right. Because there are the tools and folks like Leafwire, PufCreativ that can accelerate a business faster than if they use someone with no experience. So I think that those challenges are, at least what I see most people just kind of struggling with. An example of that, right, is Michigan just recently, 24% tax out of nowhere. Right. Legislation just got squeaked in there, and changes your business overnight. And so that's the type of stuff that people deal with in the cannabis industry. And, that directly impacts, retailers and brands in Michigan, but then people cut their marketing spend, they cut staff. So how does one change in legislation trickle into every aspect of the industry? That's just one state and one rule, let's add another rule, like another layer to that in Michigan, and how many more people does it impact? And so, and unfortunately the legislatures are like, oh, this only impacts like a really small, but it's like, no, this impacts everyone, Oh yeah. A dispensary and a brand, it's a whole ecosystem of sourcing products, materials, third parties, technology, machinery,
Hundreds of jobs.
Hundreds per small category. Like, it's crazy how many pieces of the puzzle. So there's that. I think just it'd be like entrepreneurship in general. You have to take that same approach. Like, there's people who have gotten lucky and it's just been like this for them, and that's awesome. And that's part of the world we live in. But the reality is that it is like this, and you need to really set that expectation for yourself from the beginning. It's going to take a lot of work to get your business off the ground. You're going to be faced with a lot of self-awareness situations where you let your ego get in the way of true communication and responses. You're going to find challenges with your family because you're going to have to dedicate a lot of your time to your business in order for it to be successful. And it's going to take away from your self-wellness. It's going to take away from your family time. It's going to take away from a lot of things. And so, having very realistic expectations of what the journey will look like and making sure that you can find balance throughout that journey, I think, is the real key to success as an entrepreneur in any type of vertical or landscape.
Absolutely. I would just add, being open-minded and flexible is so, being coachable.
Totally.
Learning from your competitors, as well as, having good advisors. And I feel like that's another thing too, where you've also built a really strong team.
Yeah. My team is my lifeline. You know, you need to find people that you get along with, who understand you as a person, who understand the culture that you're trying to create and the challenges that you face, and people who are willing to help you overcome those challenges because they trust you and they believe in the culture and the future of your business. That's a really big, it's been one of the most important things for me since I've started, is the team and the culture I've created. And the toughest decisions that I've ever had to make so far have been to preserve that. And that's something that it's really hard to be ready for or prepare for, even if you have the experience.
Wow. Okay. That's great.
Yeah, sorry. It's just like honest. It's just trying to be honest, you know?
Yeah, no, I mean, these are the tough issues that we're confronting in the industry, and that's why we do these conversations. So I love it.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, my approach, I think, is a little bit, you know, I try to be very motivational and reasonable and thorough in my leadership and as a business, as partner and as a thought leader. But, you know, I make a lot of mistakes and I try my best to learn from them. Sometimes being polite and reasonable and motivational has risks associated with it too, because people have very high expectations of you when you present yourself that way. So, you know, I hate to disappoint people. I try not to. It really bothers me when I do, but it's just par for the course. As the business owner and entrepreneur, you can't make everyone happy.
So true. So
yeah.
true. Yeah. Yeah. And of course, when you're nice, also, sometimes people think they can take advantage of that too. So.
Oh yeah, man.
It's like,
I get take advantage of every day. Yeah, that happens to me every day, man. It's my story, my game. You know.
Yeah. Well, you know, I think, I don't know. You've created a culture and an ecosystem that really works, and you know, it's just it's always a pleasure, John.
Oh, Mike, thanks, man. Yeah, I've been really enjoying getting to know you more, and you know, working with you over the past year. It's been awesome.
Yeah, it's actually been 6 months because we didn't actually meet. We met in Berlin.
Oh yeah.
And that was the story I always like to tell, because I was at a thing and I had like 3 different people tell me, you need to talk to John Shute. And then the next thing I went to, I was like standing out front.
Yeah, I just randomly started talking to you.
Yeah, this dude walks in and we start chatting. I'm like, hey, I'm Mike, and you're like, hey, I'm John. And it was like, oh, everybody told me I needed to talk to you. So yeah, so it's great. That's great.
Good, man. That means I'm doing the right thing if people are telling you that. That's awesome.
Absolutely. Yeah. So yeah, it's a pleasure, and I really appreciate you being on today. And
yeah,
it's a great conversation. So to be continued.
Yeah, I can't wait.
Cool. All right. Thanks very much, John.